When I used to live in Phoenix, Arizona, one of my absolute favorite ways of spending some time alone and recharging was to go find a shopping mall and just walk around. And I really, I didn't always buy anything. I wasn't actually shopping, if I'm honest. I just went to be where people are. I'm kind of a weirdo and I just love being around people. And I love being in social places. So, by the way, all the stuff going on with COVID-19 is just doing me really well. I'm not struggling at all. But anyways, my point is, I used to go for these walks, and my favorite place that I'd go for a walk out in a mall was Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall. It was 3 stories of a giant mall, and I would just remember, it was like I got to feel good because I was moving a lot and looking around, and I got to see stores that are unlike any other store out there at other malls, and it was just awesome. And it's good looking, it's clean, it's sharp, they have great food. I absolutely loved it. Now, one of the things that would happen to me, I would typically go there to just practice some healthy, let's just go for a walk and let's just go hang out and let me just go clear my mind. I would often do it alone. But sometimes I would come back from my time at Fashion Square feeling worse than when I started. And the reason it is because I would look at things that I would want and realize that I couldn't buy it. Or even worse yet, I could buy it, but I know that it would be a bad decision. And I would be frustrated by that. I would just be like, why can't I have that? And look at that shirt. And then, by the way, the other thing would happen is I'd be walking around and I would see some pretty good looking people. And I mean people who looked good, not just physically, but the way they dressed was sharp. And I would often find myself saying, I own nothing like that in my wardrobe. And instead of being inspired by all these things, and instead of it giving me life and making me go, ooh, I want to try to be like that or look like that or have that, instead it would send me home feeling defeated. And I would find myself constantly just feeling like I want more. I wish I could have more. I wish I could be more. I wish I could get more. And one of the things that I have realized that's been missing from a lot of churches and a lot of Christian talk is one of the most forgotten spiritual disciplines, which, by the way, what we like to do every 5th Trinity session is have a revolving and different spiritual discipline. These will tend to be disciplines that are foreign to us. They're typically kind of weird. They don't seem like one we've heard preached about at a church because they're so unique. Like, for example, today, the spiritual discipline I want us to look at and I want us to learn about is the spiritual discipline of simplicity. Say it with me, simplicity. It's also known in other circles as the spiritual discipline of frugality. Frugality. This is when you and I deliberately live an outward style, a lifestyle of modesty, openness, and un-pretentiousness. And what it does is when we deliberately live in such a way that we're being modest, that we're being open, and that we're being unpretentious, when we do that, it begins over time. If we do this discipline often enough, it curbs our hunger for status, for glamour, and for luxury. Which I'm going to be honest with you, I really need that. Living in Flagstaff, the ability to drive through certain neighborhoods and just see houses and go, why can't I live there? And why does that house cost over $500,000? And a lot of us, we see people and the shoes that they get to buy or that their parents bought for them, let's be honest. Or we see the types of cars that people get as birthday presents, or we see all sorts of things. People who get to own horses and people who look good in the way that they live, they just look good. Everything that they do is just, it draws me in, and I don't feel like I get to have that. You and I need something to help us with this. Let me ask you a question. If you weren't a follower of Jesus, if someone wasn't a follower of Jesus, and they wanted to grow in their ability to be content, in their ability to figure out how to enjoy what they have and not always want more, what would we tell them? Let me ask you that question. If someone said, I want to grow as a person and be more content, what practice could we give them? And do you know what I have found? The secular world, the world that says there is no God, the world that says don't tell me what to believe and that Jesus is not the way and all that stuff. That world offers us no help in becoming a good person. The secular world tells us, become a good person, be content with what you have, but they give us no path for how to be there, no path for how to get there, no path for how to become that kind of good person. And the wonderful news, actually one of the reasons I most profoundly believe in Jesus and follow Jesus, is he not only tells us what we could and should become, but he tells us how. And it is through these ancient Christian spiritual disciplines. These actions that we take, or these actions that we refrain from, that allow us to grow and foster things inside of us that make us like Jesus. And so one of them is the discipline, the spiritual discipline of simplicity or frugality. When you and I deliberately choose to live an outward lifestyle of modesty, of openness, and unpretentiousness, and what it does is a deliberate decision to start curbing on the inside all the ways that I want status, I want glamour, and I want luxury. You and I need this. I need this so bad. The Apostle Paul, one of the earliest followers of Jesus, he figured this out. He says in Philippians chapter 4, verse number 12 through 13. Now remember, these like fancy words like Philippians, that was the name of a group of Christians somewhere. And Paul wrote this to them. He was actually talking to them about how, hey, I want to thank you for your generosity and how you financially give to me. And I want to remind you of something. And he says in verse 12, I know what it's like not to have, and I love how he says this, not to have what I need. He's not even talking about luxuries. He's talking about things he needs, like food and shelter, clothing. He says, I also know what it's like to have more than I need. I mean, he's experienced generosity in his life, and people have come alongside him and gave him some good stuff. And I love what he says. He says, here's the thing. I have learned the secret to being content, no matter what happens. I am content whether I'm well-fed or hungry, whether I have what I need or I don't have what I need. Like, in other words, Paul says, I figured out the secret. What is the secret to contentment? Here's what he says. I am content whether I have more than enough or not enough. I can do all things by the power of Christ who gives me strength. Now, you and I, that verse, Philippians 4:13, we've seen it tattooed on athletes' bodies, and we've seen it printed on t-shirts. And the idea that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, right? And that wonderful verse that apparently helps you make a touchdown in the name of Jesus. That is actually not what that verse is about. The verse is not about having the ability to do awesome athletic things because you have faith in Jesus. No, that verse is about, through Christ, you have the power to curb some of these inner temptations and these inner desires that don't make us the people we want to be. You have the strength to do this. And we do it by tapping into these spiritual disciplines, these ancient things that the first followers of Jesus would do. People like Paul, he says, I figured it out. Whether I have a lot to eat or I don't have anything to eat, whether I have great clothes or really shabby, worn out, bad clothes, whether I have shelter or no shelter, staying at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, or whether I have to sleep on my friend's couch, no matter what, I have learned to be content. And here's how he's content: through Christ. He says, it is Christ who strengthens me. The goal of practicing the spiritual discipline of simplicity is so you and I would be more fostering who we want to become on the inside. And that is someone who is not always needing more, who's more content with what they already have, and someone who is not always seeking more status, more glamour, and more luxury. I want to encourage you right now. I want you to consider what it means. You and your Trinity group, you're going to discuss some things, but I want you to help each other do this week and practice the spiritual discipline of simplicity. You get today and this whole weekend to figure this out together. I want to encourage you. What would it look like if you were to find some things in your life, things that you own, clothing, toiletries? I just went into my bathroom and I saw all these toiletries that I have just like hoarded in the back of a cabinet, and I'm not touching them, and I'm probably never going to touch them for the next 6 months. I just don't need them. Someone could use them. And I keep finding things like this in my house because I'm in my house more, and I'm realizing, what would it look like for you and I to gather these things and just say, I know that I have them, but I don't need them. Or to donate some food. Maybe you have some excess food and maybe someone in your family went a little nuts on trying to buy more things. Maybe you just say, let's go give that away. Right now, there's little boxes set up on the patio at Christ Church of Flagstaff where you can literally just go donate food, non-perishable food and all sorts of items. What if you just went there and donated them? Because for me, what I need is I don't need more. I don't need more things. What I need is to see what I already have. And how will you and I grow in contentment? This is why you and I are at the end of the day, so in need of the spiritual discipline of simplicity. We're in need of it because we need to grow in contentment. And the world does not offer us a path for how to do that. The world does not tell you how to become a good person. It just expects you to be one and to figure it out. Because who can tell you right from wrong? But Jesus, he says, become this kind of a good person and let me show you the path. It's being my student. It's being my disciple. It's following me. This week, would you take on the spiritual discipline of simplicity? Would you choose to find some things in your life that you own? It could be a nice shirt or a set of pants that you just don't wear a lot and you clearly don't need it. And you do like them. They're like in good shape. Don't give away your bad clothes. I'm not saying that. That doesn't take a lot of effort. That's just making room in your closet for more luxury, right? No, what I mean is go find some stuff you're like, to be honest, I just don't wear it a lot. Let me just go get rid of it. Yeah, to be honest, I like this shirt, but I just don't need it. Move it out. Make room and be content with what you and I already have. I cannot wait to explore more of these unique spiritual disciplines with you. But more importantly, I can't wait for you and I just to discover what it looks like when we actually do these things and the ever-growing part of us on the inside that is more and more content, more and more not tempted by status, glamour, and luxury, and finds the real life eternal that Jesus offers us by being his followers. I hope you have fun getting ready to clear out some things that maybe you just don't need anymore so that you can be more like Jesus.